Welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about mobile app in minutes, not day. And actually I have subtitled my presentation, I mean our presentation, with Fast and Furious 2 because it's our second edition. We were here last year and we already presented a lot of Grails mobile plugin, and this year we're back with plenty of new plugins and libraries we're going to show you. But first of all, let's start by presenting ourselves. I am Corinne Krisch. Feel free to follow me. I am part of the Three Musketeers. The Three Musketeers, it's all of us working, doing Grails plugin on mobile. I am co-founder of the Riviera GUG and the JS Sophia. We live in the south of France, in the French Riviera. I'm working for Red Hat, and I work for the project Aerogear with my coworker Sebastian. And I'm also part of the JDuchess team. Oops, sorry, wrong. Sebastian here is also part of the Three Musketeers, actually the same.
Nice picture.
Yeah. And here is Fabrice Matra, also part of the Three Musketeers and part of the Riviera and the JS Sophia. Fabrice is working during the day as a web architect at Amadeus. But let's talk about the challenges of mobile app. First of all, let's face it, Fabrice, size does matter. You cannot fit the same kind of information on a big screen, medium size, or a small device. For example, on a big size, you will display information on several columns. On a smartphone, you may want only one column. Which brings us to the topic of responsive web design. How do you achieve that in HTML? First of all, you fix the viewport to fit your device size, and then you use media queries. Depending on your device size, you will actually change the CSS. You can do all that by yourself, or you can use a predefined framework. For example, last year, the HTML5 mobile scaffolding was based on jQuery mobile, so using the round shape CSS. This year, we're back with a new plugin, Aerogear mobile scaffolding, which is using Topcoat. Topcoat is, I don't know if you heard about Topcoat? No? It's a CSS framework. It's really lightweight. And you can actually build your own CSS just to take the widget you need. So it's very lightweight, and it's really fit for mobile. And that's the one we're using for scaffolding. Then you've got Tutor Bootstrap and plenty of other framework. I haven't listed all of them here. Push notification, it's also one of the challenges of mobile app. You know what push notification is. You install an application, you allow push notification, and then the app can send you notification. So it's not just you pulling the web, you receive information. It's like an inversion of control here. And we'll show you, actually each provider has his own way of dealing with push notification, and we will show you with Aerogear how to unify the push notification. Surviving offline. That's also something important when you're using a mobile. You cannot assume that your application will be online all the time. And actually, most of the time, your application may be offline. So you have to deal with the offline mode. It's not just, serving pages. It's also your user do CRUD operation. You want to be able to save locally the data. And when back online, you want to be able to send your modification, possibly resolve the conflict, and also get the changes from the other user, synchronize your data. we're also going to show you in details how we do that with Three Musketeers mathematical sync libraries in more details. And last but not least, when you're doing a mobile app, you want to make money out of it, you want to advertise your app on the store. And how do you do that with a web app? There is a framework like Apache Cordova where you can actually package your application in an hybrid application and then push it on the different stores. And we'll also do a demo how to do that. So, Grails and the Three Musketeers. So who's behind? You know the Three Musketeers, and you know, of course, that the Three Musketeers were four. So behind them, it's Fabrice who is dealing with all the JavaScript. If you have something, question about MVC, JavaScript MVC, ask Fabrice. He's the Cujo guy. Sorry, forgot. Mathieu is the guy who can tell you all the detail about the synchronization. I'm the one who has been more involved in the scaffolding itself, so if there is a problem, just, you know, you can blame me. And Sébastien, who knows everything about the push server. Here, a small listing of the different plugins we have done so far. So the new plugin we have this year is the ArrorGear Mobile Scaffolding. It's basically a scaffolding plugin, as the name says it all. The scaffolding is done using AeroGear for all the plumbing, all the using the pipe and the stores to locally store, using the Spring Cujo MVC for all the MVC, and as I said earlier, using Topcode for the CSS. The one from previous year actually was HTML5 mobile scaffolding, which was using jQuery Mobile for CSS and JavaScript, a custom MVC for the JavaScript part, and that's it actually. With the ArrorGear mobile scaffolding, we've got new feature like the push notification. We're going to talk in details. Another new framework, another new plugin this year is the ArrorGear Unified Push plugin. We're going to talk briefly about it today, but we will have, if you want, there is another session tomorrow, I think, tomorrow morning at 10 with Sébastien and me, who is going to show you in all details how to configure and how to do a push notification. And we're going to go really deep in the code with live coding session and all that. And then there is a sync library. So this is libraries. It's not a plugin. It's just a pure library, which is declined in different versions. You have the JavaScript, the Java, and the iOS version. Ah, it's in better. And other plugin from last year, but more or less. You can actually go to the GitHub and you will have the full listing of all the plugins and libraries here. But let's talk about the JavaScript MVC of the scaffolding plugin. Let's talk about Spring Cujo. Fabrice, the expert.
So, since a few years now in Spring, there is two guys who are working to develop JavaScript modules, so it's under the Cujo.js name, and basically they are bringing an architectural toolkit for JavaScript, and it's supported by Spring.io. So one thing that the whole philosophy around this JavaScript framework is that the future of JavaScript is modules, not frameworks. So for them, they are not building a framework. So it's a set of modules that you can use if you need them, if you would like to use them. If one day you are not happy with them, you can replace them with other modules. So the idea is to only use the module you really need for your application. It's still a quite huge number of modules. Here are the principal one, which are allowing you to have an MVC, JavaScript MVC, which allow you to do your REST call easily. There is also an AMD loader for your module loading, and when, which is a Promise library. And it's Promise A+ compliant, and I think the specification comes mostly from Brian Cavalier. So a whole set of modules that you can use together or not. As I say, you are not forced to use all of those modules, you only use the one you need. And what it brings, if you use some of those modules, it brings an IOC container in JavaScript. So it was done by Spring.io. So that was logical for them to do an IOC container. So inside this IOC container in JavaScript, you can do the whole life cycle of your modules. And configuration, dependency injection, and even aspect-oriented programming in JavaScript. So if you look at it, you will see that there will be a main definition of your application. In general, it's in the main.js. And you will add your model object. So here there is a to-dos as a model. And it's a collection of to-dos. And this creation will allow you to do some two-ways binding, either with local storage, with your views, or with REST calls. The other thing is, here is an example of AOP. So, meaning that before you are adding, you will do some cleanup of this to do, and you can generate some metadata. Same thing when you update an element. So here it's using two main modules, which are meld and wire, to do the wall plumbing. So let's see a bit more in detail what we have done for the scaffolding itself. So inside your application, you can create a classical domain object. So here we add a talk object, and we use the new REST controller type. So we just added to not if you do not want to define your own REST controller, you just put the annotation on your domain class at resources, and here you put the URL you want to access this object. So from there, you don't even have to define your a controller to access this resource. From there, we will generate directly the whole view. So there is a command which is Grace HTML generate view and the name of the domain object. If we look then in idea about what the plugin is generating, you will see that inside the web app directory there is a new set of things which are now there. You will have the main.js, that is this file I was talking about before, which is a definition of your different view, model, and REST call. So here is, for example, a declaration of a view.
Sorry.
It's big.
Yeah, it's a bit big. I was looking how to make it smaller, but I can't remember. Do you remember, Fabrice, where it was? Oh, it was so big.
Tu veux help? Fond? No result. Ah, cool. Éditeur, préférence.
Ah oui,
Avec les doigts.
preferences.
Avec tu dézoomes apparemment.
Ouais.
Avec les doigts.
Non, mais c'est pas grave.
Comme tu peux dézoomer avec les doigts.
Oh, mais non, j'y arrive pas.
Ça marche pas
pas.
Ça marche pas.
Okay, that's okay. You know, we'll.
Bon, you know,
Okay.
we'll cope with it. Yeah, no, normally minus. No. Sorry. Ok. Tout bad.
Tu le mets juste en présentation pour moi et puis c'est très bien.
Ok, presentation mode.
Oui.
Enter.
Okay.
Better.
So here, for example, we have a declaration of view that will be the whole view, and you use here the render method to have your template. So you specify where your template are. You say that you insert your view after another view, for example, and you have the data binding. So here you will say that you bind this view with the model object you were having before. So that's the whole declaration of a view. If you go a bit down, we can see also the store.
Further down.
We have here the controller where you will put all your code. So here you will say that when you click on some button, you will call those methods on your controller class. And then after that we have the definition of the store itself. So this one will do all the REST call and saving your data in local storage. And it's called IOGear Core because it uses the IOGear libraries. So that's really the main definition of your app controller and app talk.
Ah, sorry. Yep.
What you will have is, as always, you have an AMD declaration at the top, so it's able to load modules inside your inside the browser, and it says that it exports the prototype talk controller. If you go, there is some declaration of variable, and if you go down, you will just find the method that allow you to change your views, and here you will have the classic load method to load all the talk object. And here it's using when for promises. So it's full asynchronous call with when promises.
Okay, let's see how it runs. So run app. That was here it is.
So here it generates a simple UI. So using top-code CSS object, which were developed also by the same company. It was Adobe, some people in Adobe, because some were thinking that developing hybrid application might be slow. Like jQuery mobile is a bit slow as CSS because it's getting fatty, I think, today. So the advantage with top-code is you have CSS components which are really light and focus on performance. So if you click on the talk itself, basically you can add an object where you can put your description, name of the speaker. So all the classical CRUD operation that is available now on mobile.
Oops, sorry, I should have. localhost. I
Yeah,
missed
it was localhost usually.
Yeah, so but
No, but that's-
version. Sorry about that. Again, but quicker. Oh, here it is.
And if you click on it, you will have the cancel, delete, update with that. So we are using the AeroGear libraries, but Sebastian, what are those libraries?
Okay, that's dangerous.
Can I switch it on?
I will just sit, maybe.
Ah, sorry,
No, and
Sebastian.
Then
Hop.
we will switch.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's okay. We are also using AeroGear for a lot of stuff, for the West calls and for storing stuff locally on your device. So let me just focus a bit on AeroGear project. What is it exactly? So you understand what we ship with the scaffolding. And I make some promotion for our project. Huh? Let's be honest. So AeroGear is a set of libraries which have a unified API. So basically we offer this for Android, for iOS, and for JavaScript. We offer the same set of library using the same API. So let's make it easy. Let me see. Oh yeah. So let's make it easy. If you want to switch from another from a platform to another, it makes it a bit easier. We also focus a lot on Cordova because we love Cordova. I will talk about Cordova later, and then Corinne will do a demo about it. And we are also working on plugins. We deliver plugins for Cordova. So, as I said, we have a unified API. So sometimes you have to choose: do I go for iOS, for Android, for web? Do I want to have for all the platforms? So it's difficult to make a choice, and especially when you have already built it for a platform. So using a unified API makes the switch a bit easier. So basically, AeroGear is three stuff. We got the client library that we call the AeroGear Core, that are client libraries that we provide for devices, for mobile devices. We got some server components, which is the AeroGear Push server that we will see in a bit and more in details tomorrow, that actually manage all your push notification in a unified way, so you don't have to bother if you are sending that to the APNS Apple's network or the GCM Android network. And we got a lot of stuff around security, about OAuth 2, I never can pronounce that, OAuth 2, and some cryptography libraries to encrypt your data on your devices. Because when you are developing enterprise application with sensitive data, and if you lose your phone, you don't want that to be that the person that finds your phone or that steals your phone is able to read the stuff that's inside, like if you have stored the receipt of Coca-Cola, for instance. You don't want to be unclear. So, whoa, this is a bit...
Yeah, there was a fourth component actually, Sebastian. The sync.
The sync?
Yes.
But, whoa.
I think it doesn't fit in this resolution, that's a problem.
That's a problem,
So
okay.
the sync is pushed back.
Okay, so
you got in
here imagine there's another block under, and there's AeroGear sync. And basically, well, Corinne already told a bit about that. That is, we don't have delivered anything around this for now. We are still thinking about it.
And doing a lot of POC.
Doing a lot of proof of concept around it. And basically, it's the same stuff. I'm offline, and I have my app. I'm in the plane, and I'm editing a Jira, for instance. And in the same time, my boss is also editing it. And when I come online, what happens? We both change the same thing. How do we deal with the conflicts? So we will provide client libraries for that, maybe a server. But I think the next slide is gonna be funny because there's also a bit of issues here. Can we? Hey, yes. So that's better now. Oh, it's big enough. Yeah, with the magic fingers. So our client libraries. The first thing that we provide are pipes. Pipes are just an abstraction for your connectivity between your device and your server. In other words, it's just an abstraction layer around REST. I want, just to make it a bit easier, less code, less plumbing, and using some conventions. That's why I really like it. It's a bit like Grails. We are based on conventions. So here, I got an example in JavaScript. Basically, you define a pipe, and you give it a name, and by convention, the name of your pipe will be the endpoint of your REST URL. Then you can give a base URL. In this case, it's just REST. In the case of the scaffolded app, because it's shipped in the app, but basically, if you are in a Cordova app, you will put, well, the complete URL, makes sense. And then what we basically have, it's our three methods. We got the read, we do a get. I don't know if is there, I'm just afraid of switching to the, okay. We just, when we do a read, we will do, in fact, a get to the server. Then we have callbacks to handle success or error stuff. We got a save method, which will do a post. Or a put, and it's the same method. You just do a save, and the library will just check, is there no ID? Hey, he assumes it's a new entry, so he do a post. If he finds an existing ID, he say, hey, it's an existing object, let's do a put to do an update. And we got the delete method to, you know it, delete. So it's JOX RS compliant, and it works really well with Grails. You just saw it with the scaffolded app is using that. Then we got a library for doing OAuth2 in JavaScript. It's a library which will handle all the, how they call that, the OAuth2 dance. So basically, here you have a small example how to connect to your Google Drive, for instance. It's really easy. You just give it the name exactly. You need some stuff, client ID, the redirect URL when it do the OAuth2 dance. And basically, what we do here is reading the files from our Google Drive. So if you want to integrate OAuth2 in your app, it's really easy. We got it. Well, we got this JavaScript. We got the implementation in JavaScript, in iOS, and Android is planned for
April.
For April. So, and again using the same API. And then we got the data manager. I really love this one also, especially for the JavaScript side. Basically, it's bits. You can compare that to Hibernate, but for the client. So it's just a wrapper around local storage options that you get, and it's using the same API as the pipes. So you can do a read, a save, and a delete. And the nice thing is, and we don't see it here, but there is when you start your data manager, when you create the object, you can choose what sort of underlying storage system you want. So for JavaScript, for instance, you can choose between memory, which is a bit stupid, but why not, local storage, or that's also IndexedDB and WebSQL. And that is really, really nice. So you can just switch whenever you want. You can have fallbacks. If your client doesn't support IndexedDB, well, you can downgrade to local storage, and just by keeping the same code. So that's really nice. And well, we will talk that about security later. You can also encrypt your store really easily. Push notification, I'm just checking the time. 15 minutes left. Okay, push notification, what is it? Push is to notify your clients, your users that are using your app. So it's meant to be short. You have no connection to maintain because it's pushed to you using the networks from the providers. So there's Apple that has its own network, Google, Mozilla has its own push network, Microsoft, and Amazon. I think that's all. Basically, what we provide is a server and client libraries. And the clients register to our unified push server, and they send to the unified push server some information that is needed to identify the device. And then we got a really nice console to manage all this, create your application, enter your settings for the iOS, for the Android networks. I won't dive too much into that because you have to come tomorrow for my talk with Corina about that, and we will see it more deeply. And then we provide some libraries to send push notification, and that's a really important one. Basically, what we provide is a Java client, so it's just a jar that you can just ship with your backend app, and you can basically just send unified messages to your unified push server. You just send one message, and he will handle to send it to the different devices. So the backend app doesn't have to know if the people is using an Android, an iOS, or even a web-based app. So to make it more visual, that is if you are not using the unified push server. So there's a lot of stuff you have to do your own. All the code to register on the client, you have to develop it yourself. And then for each network, which has its own way to handle push messages, you have to develop that again. And each time that you make a new app, well, you have to do that all over again. So you can simplify that by using the unified push server, which just handle the registration for you and all the sending part. So it's really nice stuff. Currently we support the Android network, and we also support the simple push protocol, which has been defined by Mozilla. So basically, and I know in Spain they are available, we support Firefox OS devices, and which is nice with this protocol. It's web-based, so basically you can also add it to your web app, and because we provide a library for that, and your web app can receive also push notification. And I didn't mention here because we just released it, we have also support for Chrome apps, so it's nice to have. About security, so we get some. Pass? Okay, we skip. Security is not important. Sorry, we're running a bit out of time. But yeah, just important thing is encryption, which is really nice. I will show you tomorrow a bit how you can encrypt data. Because now, the really funny part is Cordova. So, anyone know? Everybody knows Cordova? But if I say PhoneGap, yes, probably. No. So. Cordova is just the open source version of PhoneGap. And basically you embed a browser and a native app. Then you get a JavaScript library which bridges your native features and expose them with JavaScript. So you can access your camera, your contacts, all this stuff just in JavaScript, which is really nice. You keep a single code base because basically you write just one web app and then you can just make the native packages for iOS, for Android, even for Symbian if you want, I think. But and like Grills, you can really easily extend it with plugins. There are a lot of plugins doing all kind of crazy stuff. You can press this one, yeah. What's the link between AeroGear and Cordova? So we provide some plugins. We got some tooling that we won't show you today because we're going to do that on the command line, which is also nice. And we got 2 core committers on the Cordova project. So we are really involved and we really love it. And it's really magic. It comes with a command line. So basically, that's all you need to create an app. Empty app, of course, but basically you just create a new app. You add a platform. Here we add iOS. That could be Android. You add plugins. Here, in this case, we add our push plugin. And then you do Cordova build, and it's built, and then you do just Cordova run, and it's deployed on your device. But let's see it live, baby.
Yep.
Yes.
So first magic command, Cordova create Gritch. And I will create a new folder, Gritch, oops, I have to spell it right. And, sorry?
Maybe you can just do an ls to show the structure. Yeah, it comes with a, like when you create a Grills app, it comes with its own structure, its own conventions.
Let's do iOS.
iOS, because yeah, it's cool. And let's install the plugin. So basically what this plugin does is it's managed for you the registration to the unified push server, and it can receive the notifications. And it's exposed as a JavaScript library, and it doesn't matter if you're using iOS or Android. You just keep the same code, and you can handle your push notification. So it's a really nice plugin. And
then we need to change the...
Okay, what we're going to do here is the app that we just scaffolded. We're going just to grab all the web folder, and we are going to copy that into the web folder of the Cordova app that we just created. And we also must be sure to change the URL.
Yeah, I need to...
Yeah, because localhost won't work. So,
thank you.
Basically, here, yeah, you cannot see here, but here it was localhost. If we deploy that on the device, it will never work. So basically, that's really the only thing we have to change.
Oh, sorry, you wanted to... No, it's okay. So then I just do a copy of the...
So that's a copy.
Okay, then I do a copy.
Okay. So basically, we have copied all stuff, and now we...
I think we're just ready to build. Cordova build.
Cordova build.
So what it has done, it basically has built for me the Gritch folder. So this is my Gritch folder. If I go to platforms, I've got my iOS, And I've got an Xcode project that I can just open. I will open my favorite editor, Xcode. Oops, sorry. And here I'm going to select, sorry, my iPad, and we're going to launch the application.
Yeah. We could also have done the Cordova run, iOS. But so now basically it's just taking the app and deploying it on the phone. Hey, I see. You can switch to the
camera.
To the camera, and basically it's a bit of crappy camera. Basically that's the app, and that's not a web app. That is really a native app. So you can sell it. Well, I'm not sure a lot of people will buy that on the store, but basically you can just provide it on all the different stores. And
what we're going to show now is how to send push notification. And for now, I'm going to use curl. But tomorrow we'll show you how to do it with the admin console. There is also an admin console.
So now you're trying to send a push notification to the app that we scaffolded. So.
Yes, I've got a unified push server which is deployed on OpenShift. I'm just going to log in to it. It's a bit too big, huh? It's okay, that's the way.
Okay.
Okay, I've got the 200, everything is fine. And now I'm going to, sorry, the text to take my send messages. So this is just plain curl. And here is the body of my messages I should send as a push notification. I just curl it. And I've got the 200, and
normally we should receive
a notification.
A notification. But is your iPad connected to internet? I don't think so.
I think my iPad is not connected. Yep.
Yeah. So funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I forgot to put the Wi-Fi.
Demo gods in Madrid are funny. Basically, there's no internet connection, so the iPad cannot receive the push notification. Probably, if you just connect to the internet with this really small user login that we have, we will receive the push notification. But that's maybe a good teaser for tomorrow, where we will be prepared, I hope, for this situation. There's no coding, and this app was already able to receive push notification. So now we are running really late now.
Yes, that's why we need to rush. Well, we need to talk about synchronization, Fabrice. Let's talk about synchronization really quick.
Because we run out of time, I will do it really, really quickly. But the idea around synchronization is to use like different kind of approaches. And the main approaches is basically, as soon as you are online, you just grab your whole list of data. The problem is if you have 10,000 items, you have to grab them. So doing a wholesale transfer is good when you are only doing tests. You can use timestamp approaches, which are what is used with CouchDB, for example. So that's really the algorithm for exchanges around synchronization, where basically you look at your IDs and revision and only get the set of data. The problem with that is that you need to introduce the notion of checkpoint with date, time, revision, etc. in your system. With Grails, it's kind of good because you already have ID and version, and you can add easily the date on top of it. What we have done, we use also an algorithm which is called efficient set reconciliation without prior context. And the idea is to hash your object, put them in buckets, and send them to be able to retrieve the difference. And it is linked not to the number of exchange, will be linked not to the size of your list, but to the size of changes. So if you have a list of 1 million items with only few changes, this algorithm will be really good. If you have only 10 items, just grab them. Don't use this kind of algorithm. To set up, that's all I had to do on the controller. The nice part is also that I put this controller outside the application, so synchronization is not impacting your code.
It's provided by the plugin, actually.
Yes. And on the client side, you have just a bit more work to do because you have to creation of your client and resolve the difference. But we provide libraries to be able to do that. And at the end, what it will happen is this function will be called and you will get your difference. So you will be able to apply them to your model. So I was hoping to do some demonstration, but we don't have really time.
Yeah, a last word on going native. We see how we can go hybrid, but what about if you think like Mark Zuckerberg that you bet too much on HTML and you want to go native? Do not fear, because with Aerogear, as Sebastian said, we have a unified API. So I wanted to show you some JavaScript and some Objective-C, for example, and you can see that, you know, of course, the syntax and the bracket are different in Objective-C, but here we've got the same kind of API. We have a read with a block. This is the way you write a block in Objective-C for success, and a block for failure, exactly the same kind of thing that we have for JavaScript. So very easy transition. The transition is also made easy because in the Aerogear project, we've got cookbooks, and we decline our cookbooks in the 3 different languages. So we've got the iOS cookbook, the JavaScript cookbook, and the Android cookbook. We have a list of recipes to demo the different features. So it's really nice. It's a self-contained application, you know, and we also have, you know, interesting subject. It's always funny to write those demo app. And actually, it's a good starting point if you want to contribute to the Aerogear project, because it's always nice to do a recipe, I mean, a sample app. So do not fear native app. It's not that complicated. We also have some tooling. For example, the tooling is specific to the platform. For example, for iOS, we have Xcode template, which is the equivalent of scaffolding for Grace. Basically, it's templating. So you can really quick start your application with Aerogear using those templates. And I think that's it. We even have time for some questions.
Maybe.
No? No time for
Okay.
Yeah. So if there is any question, but if you have question afterwards, you can come and ask question for Aerogear or Kujo or whatever. I mean, we're here to answer. And that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.